we go into any detail on collecting coins and sundry other details, I feel I should introduce you to one, or rather two, simple facts which will help you in your coin dealings. It's nothing earth-shattering or mind-boggling, but I can state that knowledge of this will take you a long way toward understanding your coins and its terms. Very simply and without further fanfare, I would like to introduce you to obverse and reverse. These two simple terms are used constantly in anything to do with coins, and it's best if you get grips with it in the beginning before you really sink your teeth into the whole thing. Not that you won't understand it if you hear it later, but at least in the beginning you'll get a good idea of what's being said if you hear the words obverse and reverse mentioned. To begin at the very beginning, in earlier days before the advent of the machine press, coins were minted by hand. Not that a person sat down and physically drew or carved on the coin, but a process was created in which it was possible to mint a coin using a few basic methods. Firstly, 2 dies were made, one for each side of the coin. One die was kept on an anvil. The coin blank, or the coin planchet as it's known, was placed in a die, then the second die half was placed on top and hammered down onto the coin. Now, this might seem pretty primitive, but it worked, and successfully for hundreds of years until the machine press was invented, and the rest became history. The whole point of that was to acquaint you with the fact that one die sat upon an anvil, the other die was struck upon by a hammer. This in turn led to these 2 dies being referred to as the anvil die, the one sitting on the anvil, and the hammer die, the die which was struck by the hammer. And this, I have to say, leads me to the point I was trying to get to from the beginning: obverse and reverse. Obverse is the front of the coin. It's also known as the hammer die. It's also better known as the head side when you're flipping a coin. This is the half of the die set that will be facing you if you ever see a die set. Now, this convention also holds true for the modern machine press dies as well. Reverse, as you might have guessed by now, is the reverse side or the flip side of the coin, better known as the tail side or the anvil die. Right, so you've got that one down pat. Obverse is the front, reverse is the back. But how can you tell which is which? The easiest way, of course, is if there's an identifying portrait on one side of the coin. This will tell you without a doubt that that's the obverse side. What happens, though, if there are 2 heads, or if there aren't any portraits? What do you do then? If it isn't an error coin, and all coins of that denomination are the same, then you're going to have to do a bit of intuitive reasoning before you can tell which is which. You then move on to identifying method number 2. And confusingly enough, if the coin you have shares a common device, identifying mark, on one side of all coins, then this becomes the reverse side. Without any portrait as an identifier for the obverse, the side of your coin which has the common denominator is the sign designated as the reverse side. The changeable side is the obverse. And if that still doesn't help you any, the side of the coin which bears the name of the country, if there is one, will be the obverse side. If all else fails, you could either look it up and see if you can get anywhere with reference books, or alternately, you could flip a coin and decide arbitrarily for yourself. I'd use a coin where you know which is the obverse and which is the reverse, though. Over and above all this, though, there are also a few common things which you'll find on most coins. A common theme or motif, or a shield or device of some sort. The denomination or the value of the coin. A legend or logo, sometimes the name of the country, a mint mark as an identifier of which mint it came from, date of minting, sometimes the initial of the designer, generally in small print. These are the main variations with which you'll find on most coins, be they old or new. However, since the world is a vast place and there have been more risings and fallings of civilizations than even we know, there could be any number of different designs or themes which you can find on a coin. To begin with, though, these are just fine as long as you know what obverse and reverse mean, front and back of coin. You'll get along swimmingly. Then even if you can't correctly tell which is which on the coin, at least you know what it means when a dealer or collector tells you that the obverse on the coin is slightly scratched and the reverse has only a few hairline scratches on it. Getting started. Getting your coin collection started isn't as hard as you might think, and there are a number of avenues you can pursue. Most of it depends, though, on why you want to become a coin collector. If you're doing it just as a relaxing hobby, then you have no problem, and you can get started pretty much off the bat. If, however, you're doing this as an investment, or you're looking into collecting coins which are rare or have any other specifics to recommend them, you might have to do a bit of legwork first to get things off the ground. The places where you can find your coins to start up your hobby, which I've given in the next section, are all good places to start regardless what your reasons are. It's only later that you might have to branch out and find different ways and means to get your coin collection fulfilled. However that may be, there are a few basic things you need to know before, during, and after you get your coin. Again, it depends entirely on what type of coin collector you're going to be. I've outlined to the best of my abilities the various types of collectors whom I've come across over the years. You'll find little sketches of these in the section entitled, Which Type Are You? And in the section following the next one, I've also given a few things that you might want to look into if you're going to buy your coins. Now, these are only a few guidelines, of course, and you might want to get a better idea before you go and shell out a serious amount of cold, hard cash. Where you can get your coins. How you start your coin collection doesn't really matter. All that really matters is that you've managed to get it off the ground. However, you might find that you have a little more luck with some of your avenues of collecting than by just putting your hand down the back of the couch. This, or between the cushions, might be a good place for you to start looking for any loose change, but that particular bank won't last long, and you'll want somewhere that yields more coins. These are just a few suggestions to get you started. Besides, it all ultimately leads to the same result and only depends on how serious you are about your hobby.